Rabbis.
Yeah. David did.
Metzia. Everyone's here to learn Torah. Baruch Hashem. We can learn Torah Be'eretz HaKodesh. Bava Metzia Kaftes Amud Beis. We are in the second line of the page. That is so nice to start a page on the right foot, the right place. So as I emailed you yesterday, and I'm going to say the Ilu Nishma soon. Before we start reading, I wanted to make a note regarding what I said yesterday. What happens once the person already had enough of the animal that he's looking after? For example, if it's an animal that's productive and covers for itself and pays for itself, how long do you have to keep it before you get rid of it because it's too much for you? A year. Nice. A year. Very nice. Yeah, you got my vote. A year. Now, if it's an animal that is not productive, was between 3 months. If these are, fowls that run around, or 3 days, if it's some, chicken that drives you crazy. The mindset, at the end of the day, any animal would be sold at some point and turn into cash. Anyway, so now what happens with the money? No, before what happens with the money? I keep saying you sell it to someone else, right? And then you keep the cash. That's what Rashi says. I wasn't wrong. That's Rashi. Says the Ritva, what I told you yesterday. Can you just say, hey, wait a second. I actually want to keep that chicken or horse or whatever, train it my way, do my thing, because I actually need one, and turn it into cash, meaning I'll promise you I'll keep the cash in the corner from my own pocket, from my own account. I'll pay the, 3,000 shekels for the tuki, keep it for the master, and keep the parrots for myself. I'll buy it off the loser, so to speak, without him knowing. So the Ritva says, no, you cannot do that. That's Mari sign. It looks suspicious, right? Because it looks like you're making money on someone else's cheshbon instead of, fulfilling the mitzvah. Says the Ramban, vehemently opposed to that, and apparently there are people on both sides. Says Ramban, no, Maris Ayin doesn't really apply to the Shomer Aveda, because if the Shomer Aveda really coveted that parrot, he wouldn't have gone through this whole lengthy process. He would have just keep it for himself without, and just not announce it. He is in the process of Hachzoro and Hachrozo, announcing and trying, right? He is doing everything right up until now. So don't really suspect him, says the Ramban. Secondly, he says it's much more of a headache to start selling an item rather than to keep it for myself and paying with my money. Selling myself is so easy. I'm both sides of the chassan. I'm the chassan and the challah. Great. Mashenkin, if I have to start looking for a buyer, who said anybody wants to buy dafka that, 3 days old chicken, and therefore that's just, you should know it's mechlokas hashanim. So I said yesterday was true according to Rashi, not true according to Ramban. And with that we'll continue. Later on we'll see a Mishnah that again applies to that. But right now let's continue to Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Shmuel. The shir is, I'm going to write your mother's name, but please tell me now, your mother's Leilu Nishmas who again? Enya Reisha Bas Elchonon Yitzchak. Arenu Lomdim Leilu Nishmas Avi Mari Menachem Ben Akiva Lunishmas. I'll mention, yeah, Lunishmas?
My mother's shop.
Chava Bas Chaim Reuven. Menachem Ben Akiva. Even Lofuas, even Rosin Nechom Bas Chana Mala Norman Kole Bas Tamar Shmuel Avrom Ben Yudis Bas Rivka Plinicha Bas Gula Roch Reuven Yaakov Ben Gold Esther Gabriela Bat Tzorah Chana Bet Sino Tomo Bas Nomi Bela Zisla. In Bar Bat Yel Tzvi Herzl Ben Denis Shalom Yosef Ben Hinda Yaakov Ephraim Ben Tzor Yela Bat Shira. Sach Shachol Yisrael. Okay, says the Heilige Gemara. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Shmuel. Alocha Kel Bitarfon. Remember Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Tarfon from yesterday? Says Rabbi Tarfon, you have the money, whichever way around, but you have the money in your drawer. Which money? The money that you got instead of the Aveda, which you already lost, halachically lost patience from, you have the money. Says Rabbi Tarfon, you're allowed to use the money. You looked after the Aveda so nicely. Of course, you have to make sure you put the money back. You're allowed to dip into the money when you have to, providing you put it back and you have it ready whenever the loser will come to look for it, the Me'abed. So halacha is lakim, very nice, as opposed to who? Rabbi Akiva, who's saying you cannot touch it. Story time. Bei Rachva, instead of Biyad, the real gear says Bei Rachva, a family called Rachva. In the household of Rachva, Havele Hanu Zuzi Diatmi. They were looking after money of Yesoimim. There are at least 4 versions of the Rishonim exactly why the money of the Yisraelim was there. Lamaisa was a mitzvah. There were Yesoimim that orphans, obviously, we know are in a big disadvantage. So this Rachva people were doing a favor to the Yesoimim who are vulnerable, and they were looking, they were honest people, good people, the Beirachva, or so we assume, and they looked after the money of the Yesoimim. It's not exactly Shomer Aveda, true, but Lemaisa, it is a Shmira for somebody who is in a disadvantage. Also, the Kamedah of Yosef, somebody from Beirachva came to Rav Yosef, to the Rav, Omer Le, and he asked Rav Yosef, Mauli Shtamushi Begavayu, am I allowed to use the money? Am I allowed to use the money? And of course, I'll make sure to put it back. Yeah, it's a deposit, and I'll put it back when I have to, but can I use it? Omer Le, says Rav Yosef to Rachva, Hachi Omer Rav Yehuda Omer Shmuel, Rav Yehuda Omer Shmuel, which we just saw now, says, Halacha Kel B'Tarfon, Halacha is a Tarfon, which means, yes, you can use it. Oh, here comes bad news. Omer Le Abaye, comes Abaye. Abaye was the Talmud, the disciple of Rabbi Yosef, which many times challenged him. Abai, I don't know if you notice, is a big challenger. Many times he asks questions against others and he wins. Halacha is usually not like him, but many times he changes the picture. He's a game changer. Now Abai is going to challenge his rabbi again. Amar Abaye, velav itma alo. Didn't we learn regarding that Rabbi Tarfon? Amar Bichel bu Amar Avhuna. Lo ishonu ela bidmei aveda ha'il v'torach bo. That halacha of Rabbi Tarfon, that you're allowed to use the money that you found. No. You're not allowed to use money that you found. No. You're allowed to use the money, Dmei Aveda, the money converted from the Michigan animal that you found, Ho'il v'torach bo, because you looked after it so nicely, and you came to a point of, at the end of your tether, halachically, whenever that is, 3 days or a year, at that point, Allah says, you're such a good boy, now you have the bonus, the money that the animal is converted into money, that money, good boy, you're allowed to use it. We said it yesterday. That's Reb Tarfon. Aval rak prega tevakasha. Aval mois aveda deloy tarach beu. Loy. Money that you found in the street and you have to give back. Tell me, Chavirim, when is it that if I found money I have to return? For example, Eiffel Tower. Very nice, specific tourist, a specific shape, like a tower. There's a simon, whatever. It's in a red envelope with blue flowers. In other words, if the money is in specific siman and you found the money, you never worked hard for that. You take the money, put it in your drawer. There is working hard to be machris, but that's not the hard work we're talking about. You never took care of the money. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to clean the toilet. I'm sorry. You don't have to do anything besides actually just having it in the drawer. That money you are not allowed to use, even according to Tarfon. And those people, Rachva, they never worked hard for the money. They just got the money as pikadon, and that it was just there in the drawer right from the start. Vehani, continues the Gemara, that money of the Yesomim of Rachva, kimos avedadamu. There are like money found in the street, straight, in the original form of money. It was never an animal, and therefore he won the case. Meaning, Abai was right, and he challenged Rav Yosef. Comes Rav Yosef now, and now he addresses the defendant, the shoyel, Rachva, and says, Zil, go. What can I tell you? He's saying, subserviently, Zil, go. L'shav kuli de ashrilach. They don't allow me to allow you to take the money. What can I do? My Talmud Abai is right that they don't allow me, so to speak, to really go ahead and allow you to use the money because Abai is asking questions that are too good. So now there is a halacha there's a halacha in Chofetz Chaim. It's mentioned that a dayan, it's from Sanhedrin, a dayan is not allowed to say. People do it all the time. Like let's say in a committee of a vad of a school or work, and you have a committee and you discuss whether to fire someone or to employ someone or to make someone pay money. You're not allowed to go out if the psak is against the defendant, the guy, whoever, and you're pro, but you were overruled. You're not allowed to say, I was overruled. I was on your side, but it was overruled. Don't show solidarity. And that because it's kind of Lashon Hara on the other Dayanim, is beginning to get who's with him and who's against him. Over here, I saw in one of them before Hashem, don't remember, that's not an issue. Why? Because over here, he said it in front of Abaye. To go backbiting is not allowed. But in this case, I'm not saying halacha l'maisa. This is not halacha shir as it said 10 times. I'm saying over here, because Abai was present, it was all part of the discussion. Everything was in the open. It was like a closed door discussion, and then you leaked outside who's pro, who's against. Again, not the Knesset. As happy as I am, Knesset is Knesset. But Lamaisa, the idea is, as long as it's an open discussion, then you're allowed to say it because they were there all the time. So that's why it's weiter. The Heilige Mishnah. Now we're talking about the upkeep of inanimate objects, things that are not animals, and you found them. What do you do with them in order to keep them nice and fresh and clean? Yeah, imagine yourself. You find some, I don't know, even shirt, clothes, and you put it in the very, very back of the house where there's mold. And a year later, you can't look or smell at this shirt. It was nice a year ago. You have to make sure that when the Veda is kept by you, you have to take care of the upkeep and maintain it well, the maintenance. Says the Mishnah, Motza Sforim. Let's say you found Sforim. We assume we're talking about Sforim Kedoshim, not a phone book. Once every 30 days, you should make sure to take it out of the cupboard and read in the Sefer. Now, the Rishonim all say Sefer is nothing to do with what we have today. We're talking like a Megillah, like a Sefer Torah. All this form, says Rashi, like a scroll. And if it's kept for too long in its position, it's going to get like moldy and musty, not so nice. You have to open it in order to air it out. And as you do it, you're also allowed to read in it. You're allowed to enjoy it. Maybe it's also a benefit. Mechavrus and I broke her head and opened this for him. Doesn't say why I can't just open it and just roll it out and spread it out alone. If I know how to read it and know how to learn, I'm allowed to learn in the Sefer. I guess it's also, maybe it will encourage me. It won't be such a headache. Oh, let's take out the Sefer every 30 days. I'll be encouraged to take out the Sefer because I'll enjoy the reading. Lamaisa, you read in the Sefer, but the main idea is not for you, obviously. You should look at it after it. The idea is to freshen and air it out. Now, the let's say the Shomer Aveda does not know how to read. Some people do not know how to read. Then, Gonlon, you should be Golel, you should open it from the beginning to the end, like they do in the Sefer Torah. Open it like that to make sure that it's aired out. Aval lo yilmod ben batchila. 1 second. Don't learn in the Sefer if it's your first time reading. If this is the first time you're reading Jeremiah or Isaiah or Ezekiel and you never read those books before, because you're yeshivish, so what? So let's say that's the first time. Don't read in those forms the first time. First time reading, says Rashi, it takes you too long. First of all, I think it's my own story. You're not going to air it out so quickly. You're not going to get from the beginning of the book till the end. You're going to get stuck on one paragraph. Hey, I never knew that Yechezkel says that. And you're going to get stuck and bogged down in one area. And also, you deal with it too much. The Ramban says when you open a sefer the first time, it's the first time you learn it be'iyun, you start also pulling it back and forth. What does this pasuk say? That pasuk says maybe there's a stira. You learn it too be'iyun, and you start, sort of like muddling up with the sefer. You're starting to you can do damage with a too well invested read. That's what. No questions till the end of the Mishnah. Okay. Now, the loikra acher imoy. Also, another person should not read with you. Only one person, two people reading the book, each one will pull to his direction. And the sefer is going to tear because it's like you're under a blanket. Each one pulls the blanket to his direction. Motza ksus. Second case, you found a ksus. You found a garment, a cloak, whatever. Once every 30 days, you have to give it a shake. You have to shake it up. You have to give it a good shake to clean it and to air it out and dust it once every 30 days. The shoitcho, and also spread it out. Litzorko, if the garment is such that needs to be spread out and not crumbled up, to be spread out, then do that. Avaloi lichvoidoi. Don't do that for your own glory or your own honor. Which means, let's say people come to your house and you have that nice carpet or a nice that you found or a nice curtain. So don't spread it out when the guests come, so they would think, "Ooh, he's a cool guy. That guy has more money than we thought." And you feel good about it. Don't do that. This detail will be discussed in Metzia Hashem tomorrow, not today. Clay kesef u'klei nechoshes. What about items? These are silverware or copperware. Nechoshes is the copper. So those the items made out of those metals, you really should look after them, store them in the ground. Under the ground is the best place to look after them. Tell your wife, move all the silverware from the pane, put it under the ground. Yeah, really, in the times of the Gemara, they used to put it under the ground. However, they can get rusty over there. Mishtamish behen, take them out of their hole and use them litzorkon, use them for their own need. Avalol shochkon, don't overuse them. Says Rashi, not zman orach. Don't overuse the silverware or the copperware because again, it's a delicate balance here. Use them enough so they should be in use and should be freshened up, but don't use them too much so they don't get destroyed. Klei zahav uklei zchuchis. What about klei zahav, golden, whatever items? Yeah, goldware, whatever that is less susceptible to get go black, as we see. So klei zahav doesn't have to be in the ground. Klei zahav are very well maintained. Just keep them in the cupboard and leave them alone. Klei zchuchis, we know, are very, very fragile. Therefore, lo yigaben ad shovel yo. If something is made out of gold or glass, zuchuch is the glass, don't touch it. It doesn't need maintenance and it can break. Just leave them alone until a liano becomes. What do you mean? You machriz. How long do you have to be machriz? 3 regolim. You go to Yerushalayim or about the equivalent time in your neighborhood, and that's it. And then at shavelio, matzo sak or kupa. Let's say you are a Talmid Haham. Let's say you're a very respectable person. In the middle of the street, you find something really heavy and big and bulky, a big sack or kupa, not kupa shel tzedakah. You find a big box in the street. The chol dova she'en dal kolito. It's a kind of item, and this is a very, very good litmus test. It's a kind of item that if it was yours, you wouldn't have carried it. Yeah. Let's say you're an older, respectable person. You're not a porter, and really, you on your way from IKEA, on your way from a supermarket, you don't carry those heavy things. Rosh Hashiva with a frock, with a hamburger, with a big beard. It's not your kind of thing to do. Had it been yours, you wouldn't have carried it. You would call somebody else to do it for you. So when it's Metzia Shavas Aveda, you don't take the Aveda. Hareze lo yitol, so don't take it. What does that mean? You actually potter, you're exempt from the Shavas Aveda. Why? It says in the Torah, this alamta mehem. Salamta mehem means you should ignore them. Really, the pasuk reading of the pasuk is salamta mehem. You think you can ignore it? Don't ignore it. But the drasha is that if sometimes this Aveda is beyond the scope of your covered, it's below your dignity to take it, and it's not covered the Torah. We'll see. Also, that will also only be discussed later, not today. Then you are exempt from taking it. Okay, no questions about the last item because we're anyhow not going to deal with it today. You wanted to ask something at the beginning of the Mishnah? Before we continue the Gemara, yeah, Baruch hit the nail on the head. I was wondering, why is it that I can read the Sefer, right? The Gemara will say later, and the Rishonim, that if the item is a mitzvah item, and that's the halacha, we assume that a person doesn't mind that another person uses his item for mitzvah. You see a siddur in shul, the siddur says in it, whatever, Avram, Yitzchak, Levi, Berkowitz, it's private. It doesn't say don't use it, whatever, but you know it's private. Me'ikra din, as long as you obviously treat it nicely and keep it in its place and put it back, you're allowed to use the siddur. Why? Because the person doesn't mind if people use his item for mitzvah. So I assume that could very well be the reason why you can use the sefer. Very nice, very nice. I'll stand on the soapbox for a second. You should just realize sometimes people use other people's shtenders in shul. And then in the middle of davening, the shtender owner comes late. The shtender owner is too nice and Anglo to say anything. So he doesn't tell the person who's using a shtender, get out of my seat. So the shtender owner ends up not using his own shtender because somebody else is using it. We'll leave that alone. But very nice, because I'm happy you connected what we're going to see now with the permission to use the Sforim to begin with. No, a garment you're not allowed to use. A garment you're not allowed to use. Motzek sus, you're allowed to shake it, but you're not allowed to wear it or even make people believe that it's yours because it's not a tali. Sus can be a very secular thing too. It can be used jeans pants. So no, only by Sforim we see that, but tefillin we're going to discuss later. Let's take it slowly. Okay, weiter. Okay.
If I stand,
now we're going to talk about one specific item that has a unique halacha just for that item. Tefillin bashuk. Somebody found a pair of tefillin of phylacteries Amoitz tefillin bashuk. He found it in the street. Lo aleinu. We have to be mechabed the tefillin. What does he do with that? Sham, not sam. Sham demain. You assess how much it costs. Umanichan lealter, and you right away manichan. Manichan means one of two things. Either you sell it to yourself. You say, "Hey, I need some tefillin. I need tefillin. My tefillin are not mehudar, or my tefillin got lost, or my son just became bar mitzvah. I need tefillin. These look like very nice mehudar dikkat tefillin. I will now put the money on the side and sell them for myself." And some Rishonim explain manichan means anachas tefillin. You put the tefillin here and here, yeah. Manich the tefillin and sell it to himself, and that's absolutely fine. Other Rishonim say the right away le'alta, right away you can sell the tefillin for somebody else who needs them and make some money on it and keep the envelope with money for the guy. The question obviously is, I'll continue the Gemara, but the question is, why tefillin? We never saw that if I found something that's not an animal, if I found a table, a chair, I found shoes, I found a computer, I keep it, right? There's no reshus to exchange for money. For some odd reason, tefillin, you're allowed to exchange for money. No, I'm not interested in potential answers now. We're going to see another comparison, and then I'll tell you the Rambam and the Meforshei Shulchan Aruch. It's a very interesting issue, actually. Meisiv Ravina. Ravina questions what we just said. Motza Sforim. Motza Sforim, a person finds Sforim. Karban Echad L'Shloshim Yom. What do you do with the Sefer? You read in it once every 30 days. Dim Ein Yodeh Likra is Gadolon. You see what? If you don't know how to read the Sefer, just air them out and roll them up and down at once every 30 days. Says Ravina, Diuk Goylolan in Sham Dmein Manichan Loi. We see when it comes to Sforim, you're only allowed to wear them, not to wear them, excuse me, allowed to use them once every 30 days, which you may be right, Baruch. But Lamaisa, we don't say you can actually buy the Sefer. Why don't we say, it's a mitzvah, so let the person, I'll buy the book to myself. Let's say that Sefer of Yeshayahu costs 2,000 shekels. I'm talking about Klaf, yeah? So I'll set aside 2,000 shekels in the account for the loser, and I'll use the Sefer for myself. And we don't say that. So what's the difference between tefillin and sforim? They're both mitzvah. Amar Abaye, tefillin bei barchavu mashkach shrichi. Barchavu was the person who's the tefillin macher. What I'm going to tell you now will blow your mind completely. This is very, very, very different to Tafshin Pei based to 2022. Tefillin are easy to come by. In other words, tefillin in the barchavu, the person who's the tefillin macher, the tefillin maker, you can sell your tefillin all the time. They're very common. And therefore, the person who lost them doesn't mind if I need the tefillin, that I should be able to really take his tefillin and 5,000 shekels that they cost, I'll set aside, because very easily he can just go and buy tefillin in the store just like that. Like a lahavdil, like a Keter plastic chair. But Sforim are not shchichi. Woo! Sforim are not common. Because Sforim are less common than tefillin, don't faint, yeah? Because Sforim, to get exactly that Yeshayahu Sefer is harder to get. Maybe the Sefer has to write especially the Sefer for you. Because Sforim are harder to get, then the person says, no, mapitom. I just want to I dafka want to have back my Sefer, not the cash. What am I going to do with the cash? Start commission the Sefer to write me a whole new Sefer. That's a whole big tircha. The Sheikh and Tefillin are already post-industrial revolution. Tefillin are there all the time, but the Tefillin guy, and therefore the loser doesn't mind if the finder actually keeps it for himself or sells them, because very easily can buy another pair. I don't know if they're allowed to wear tefillin in North Korea or not. That's where we are right now. The next 5 minutes. Now, so lich'oira, let me ask a question. The Shulchan Aruch says, yeah, tefillin are easy to come by, as strange as it sounds today, and therefore you're allowed to use them right away or sell them right away and keep the cash for Mr. Loser of the loser. So now, adds the Rambam, and the tefillin are dvar mitzvah. Why does the Rambam have to add the tefillin and dvar mitzvah? Yeah, because I'll ask you a question. Let's say somebody lost a plastic chair, and all those white Israeli plastic chairs look exactly the same, and it's very easy to buy them in many places. So if I bought a plastic chair, not bought, no, if I found a plastic chair, can I say, hey, honey, we need some plastic chairs for sukkahs? Can I actually buy those plastic chairs of the losers without him knowing, because he can very easily buy another one instead? Yes. You can learn from tefillin, yes. Says the Rambam, no. The Rambam ends, no. It's only tefillin because they're dvar mitzvah. Why does Rambam say Dvar Mitzvah? Mechloikes between the different commentaries of Shulchan Aruch. Opinion number one is the Sma. Listen to this, unbelievable. Says the Sma says Sefer Mitzvah. The Miras Einaim. Miras Einaim says other items. A person is emotionally. It doesn't say emotionally connected. The person wants his item. Don't mess up with my chair. I want my plastic chair. It's my favorite lucky plastic chair. Why? You found it. Be honest. Give me back the chair. Don't give me money instead. What kind of thing is that? Only by tefillin, listen to this, unbelievable. Very, very, so to speak, secular svara. By tefillin, he's not emotionally attached. Because tefillin, all he wants to do is to do the mitzvah that Hashem told him. He doesn't have his own use. It's like mitzvah slav le'enos nitnu. A mitzvah of tefillin, it's not like I'm emotionally connected to my tefillin. All I need is to be mekayim the mitzvah via the tefillin. So since tefillin are very handy and can buy a new pair in half a second, but the tefillin store down the road, and it's just a functional thing in order to be mekayim the mitzvah, I wouldn't mind if the guy uses my tefillin. I'll use another pair instead. Just the other way around from what I would say. But that's what this mass says. Says the other ones, they say no. They say simple reason what you said. By tefillin, the reason why the person is so easy and says, I lost tefillin. You give me cash instead? Okay, I'll buy a new pair tomorrow. Nothing happened. You don't say that by chair or by table or by shoes, because tefillin is a mitzvah, and the person is happy that somebody else used this tefillin because you really needed it. Oh, you needed the tefillin? Oh, I'm happy that you used my tefillin. Now you gave me cash. I'll buy with that cash other tefillin tomorrow instead. Wow. Questions? Quick questions are welcome, but not too much. The what? Sentimental value comes to it, but not with tefillin. Tefillin, no sentimental value, says this. Why? Because it says it's only a way for you to be Mekayim Ratzon Hashem. It's not your ego. My chair is my chair where I sit with my computer and I write my beautiful novels. So don't you sell my chair, even though I can buy another one with exactly the same. With tefillin, there isn't. We would say just that around. We would say it's a very non-frum spot, but that's what this ma says. Tefillin is not your. No, it's not yours. It's just a way to get close to Hashem. It's just a way to become a mitzvah. Mainly, you're not emotionally connected. Well, he was a little bit before, and then you're next. Yes, I'm listening to, and we are about to continue. We Bonon Hashoyel. Here comes a brisa that's going to talk about borrowing sfarim and keeping sfarim someone else as a deposit. Bonon Hashoyel Sefer Torah mechaveroi. This brisa is a brisa which will be explained later. Somebody borrowed the Sefer Torah from his friend. Very common by shuls, right? But let's say it's a common. Let's say somebody lo leinu is an ovel chalila, or somebody has his own minion at home, and he borrowed the Sefer Torah from someone. Now, Sefer Torah back then wasn't like today. It's an Aron Kodesh, and we take it out. You know, it was Sefer Torah people would learn from, like in their Sfarim shrines. That was part of your Jewish library at home. Get that in mind. It's like he borrowed the Shas. He borrowed the Sefer Reb Chaim Brisker. Asher Sefer Torah mechaveroi harei ze lo yashilenu le'acher. You borrow the Sefer Torah from one person, you're not allowed to lend it to another person without his permission. Okay, the question is what's the chiddush? Will be discussed. Every line of this brisa will be discussed later. Now, big chiddush. You borrow the Sefer Torah, you're allowed to read in the Sefer Torah. What's the chiddush? Of course. If I'm asking the questions now, if you borrowed a Sefer, you borrowed it to use. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll explain. Oh, if it's your first time read, in other words, the person, the Bailim, doesn't know if you once learned Yirmiyahu or you did not yet learn Yirmiyahu. If this is your very first taste of Yirmiyahu ever in your life, you're going to learn it more, but you can start tearing the pages by mistake with your fervor and your love to Yirmiyahu. That is not what the person who lent it had in mind, and therefore don't use it for a first time read. The second and third time, you already know the text and you just read it more lightly, more bekius. That's allowed. Oh, you lent a sefer, that you borrowed a sefer, don't allow you and your havarutha to learn it together with you, because two people may tear each one to another direction. That's issue number one, the one who borrowed the sefer. Now, second case, that's different. A person is going to chul and he has a sefer Torah in his house, and he's your good neighbor, and you're a good neighbor. He says, please look after my Sefer Torah. Of course, the assumption is you're not allowed to read in the Sefer, right? It's you as a deposit, not as a borrowed item. Once every 12 months, you have to golel, which means you have to open it, unroll, and roll in order to air it out. And also you're allowed to read in it. You're allowed to read in the Sefer Torah, even though it's only by deposit. We're going to discuss later why. And then it says, if you opened it just for yourself and not for the maintenance of the Sefer Torah, it's not like you read it while you were maintaining it, while you were airing it out, you're reading it. It's something different. You open it exclusively just for your use, that's not allowed because it's not lent to you, it's deposited by you. And all that will be explained later. Sumchus Oimer, Sumchus argues on Tanakama and says, B'chodosh shloishim yoim, a new sefer you have to air out once every 30 days. The Yoshan Shneimasa Chodesh, an old Sefer Torah once a year, once every 12 months, which means a new sefer is dafka more vulnerable. A new sefer is more sensitive. Yeah, that's what the Gemara and Rashi keeps saying. At least back then, that's it was. An old sefer is already an alta zach, alta thing, and therefore once in 12 months is enough. Lezer ben Yaakov says either old or new, you always have to open it and air it out once every 12 months. Everything will be explained. Brisa number 1 about one who borrowed the sefer, and Brisa number 2 about somebody who deposited the sefer. Both will be extensively discussed in the Gemara. Now the Gemara discusses Omer Mar. Omer Mar, that's an Amoira. If you borrow the sefer Torah from Reuven, don't lend it to your neighbor Levi without Reuven knowing. Don't lend it to somebody else. Correct the Gemara. Ma area sefer Torah. What is the chiddush only about a sefer Torah? Says Rashi, Sforim, more than any other things, they tend to tear. There's more wear and tear by Sforim, old and new. Are you saying only sefer Torah? If you look call milinami, any item that you borrow, you're not allowed to lend further to somebody else without the knowledge of the owner. The Omer B'Shimon ben Lakish, Kan Shono Rebbe taught us in Gittin, and a shoel Rashi lahashil. A shoel, a borrower, is not allowed to lend further to somebody else. If you rented, let's say, a car, you're not allowed to rent it out, to sublet it, as they say, to another person, unless the original owner knows and allows you. So the question is, what's unique about Sefer Torah? Any item. What's the big Sefer Torah business over here? Answers the Gemara, Sefer Torah, it's tzrichalei. There is an extra chiddush by Sefer Torah. Maudetema, one would argue, here's a big moment, Rabbi, Maudetema, since we sometimes believe the concept of a person is happy that mitzvah should be done with his money, so maybe, therefore, if Mr. Reuven, such a nice guy, nice avrech, lent me his Sefer Torah, maybe he wouldn't mind. I can't catch him by phone now. Yeah, my neighbor needs a Sefer Torah, the other shul. That can happen. A shul borrows from one shul, and they want to lend it to yet another shul. Don't do that without the permission of the first shul. And don't say, oh, they probably agree because it's a dvar mitzvah. If Chazal said it about the Shomer Aveda, that's for Chazal to say. You can't just assume it yourself. Kamash Malan, no. We don't say that. Do not lend the Sefer Torah, even though it's a mitzvah. Don't lend it further on. No, don't lend it. Don't lend it. Don't lend it. Don't lend it. Poischoy continues the Gemara to explain the Brisa. He said, you borrowed a sefer, you're allowed to read in the sefer. For example, what pshita? Of course. What did he borrow it for? To have it there in the vitrina. You know, some people have a lot of sforim to impress the neighbors, to impress the mechutonim. That's not what you should have sforim. You should have sforim to use them. You borrowed a sefer, of course you borrowed to read in it. What else? What's the chiddush? Answers the Gemara. True, that's not a chiddush. However, sefer itzrichalei. Really, we mentioned the first part of the sentence in order to mention the last part to have fluency in the sentence, because the second part is a chiddush, which means you're allowed to use it. That's not a chiddush, providing it's not a first-time use. First-time use is a whole different story. I think I have time to mention Ramban here. There's a Ramban here, and that Ramban is quoted by many other Rishonim. Says the Ramban something very interesting. Here you can put your finger in the word Batchila. We'll continue from there. Says the Ramban like this. Says the Ramban, in the olden days, would they have Mishnah or Gemara written? No. The written Sfarim then were only Sefer Torah, Torah and Vim Ksuvim. And when you read the Torah or Novi once, you got the gist of it, you got the picture of it. There's no Rashi, no commentaries. You read it once, you have an idea of what's going on. So the first reading is very hard. The second reading is just Chazorah. Says the Ramban, an unbelievable thing that everyone who learns Torah should know. Says the Ramban, today, when people borrow Gemaras, yeah, and they're printed, today's form can also wear and tear very easily. It's still true that they become, you should see a Gemara Shabbos, you don't want to see it. The pages are black, you know. So I'm saying the Sefer you borrow today, he says just the other way around. First time read and 10th time read is the same, because the deeper you go, the more times you read it, the more questions you have, more depth you have to discover. So Mimeli says there's no difference between first time and 100th time. The other way around, for Karen, the more you read, the more you get be'iyun, and you can get, start to looking for all the steers and looking back and forth and flip the pages. Mimeli says today when you borrow Gemara, you are allowed to use it the first time, because first time is like the 100th time. It's all the same. And he knows it, the one who lent it. Weiter. V'chen, hamafkid sefer Torah tel chavero, second brisa, the person who deposited the sefer Torah. Yes, question, quick, before v'chen hamafkid. Papa Ryan, quickly. V'chen hamafkid sefer Torah tel chavero, second brisa, the person deposited the sefer, something deposited by you, you're not allowed to touch it. What are you allowed to do? That's not allowed. That's required. Maintain it. Do the upkeep and roll it back and forth once a year to air it out. Now continue. Open it and read in it. What are you talking about? Are you talking about a person who is allowed to read it just for his own enjoyment? What is Avidet Tegabeh? What is he doing to him? What is he doing in his hands? Which means, if you talk about the upkeep of the sefer, we already mentioned you're supposed to roll it out once a year. If you talk about your own read, every once in a while you want to read the posuk in your meow, why? You're not supposed to do that. Why? Because that's just for your own benefit. Mechitesi, you're like embezzling the sefer. The two, and another question, it says outright later on, in Bishvila Paschoi Osur. It says, if you want to tell me that from some reason I get a bonus and I am allowed to use it for myself, well, the next line says the other way around. In Bishvila Paschoi Osur. If I open the sefer just for myself, for my own benefit, my enjoyment, it's not allowed. Amad Paschoi V'Koreboy. And a second ago, you said you are allowed to read it. In other words, it's a double-decker question. Make up your mind. On one end, you're telling me only do it for the upkeep of the sefer, right? And then you say that I'm allowed to read it. And then again, you say I'm not allowed to read it. What's going on? Everything will be good. Which means, if, as I already told you before the end, you are supposed to, you're obligated to do what? Once a year, open the sefer, air it out, make sure that it doesn't, I think there's a loch even today, no? You know about, to any gaboim around? I think a sefer Torah in the Oron, you're supposed to take it out once a year and make sure it's in use, yeah? So apparently, if while you were goylel, you rolled it out, you rolled it back and forth, if you read it while you do that, that's allowed. But if you open it only for yourself, 2 months ago you opened the sefer for the sake of the sefer. It doesn't need maintenance now, 2 months later. So why do you open it? Just for yourself, because you want to read yourself. That's not allowed. You're only allowed to take a sort of, jump on the bandwagon once you read once you open it for the Torah. But to open it for yourself and read, no. Sumchus Oimer says Sumchus that you have to air it out more frequently. B'chodosh shloshim yom. If it's a new sefer which is more sensitive, more vulnerable, the new sefer needs more maintenance. Shloshim yom, once every 30 days. The Ma'aseh makes sense because new items you want to keep them new. You want to keep them good, in good condition. It's my new sefer. Don't touch it. And if you found it or you borrowed it or you keep it once every 30 days, make sure it's nice and new. It's a new item. If it's an old sefer, once every year, that is enough. As opposed to Tanakama, which required both types of sforim only once a year. Sumchu says if it's a new one, once every 30 days. Ablezer ben Yaakov says, either new or old is the same thing once every 12 months. What should be the question now? Fact the Gemara, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, Hainu Tanakama. Lezer ben Yaakov is repeating Tanakama word for word, just in different style. Tanakama says a sefer, meaning any sefer, once every 12 months. Sumchus argued and says the new one once a month. And now comes Lezer ben Yaakov and says either new or old, 12 months. So Lezer ben Yaakov, you're saying the same thing as Tanakama. Which new information? Of course. Tanakama says any sefer. But Tanakama also meant new or old because it didn't differentiate. If Tanakama says a sefer, it means new, old, or Chinese. Of course. Avada. You see, only Sumchus differentiated new or old. Mashma Tanakama did not differentiate, and they said 12 months. Rabbi Ben Yaakov speaks it out, but he's not really saying anything new. Elaima, therefore must be the version is wrong. The gear says wrong. Rabbi Ben Yaakov, you don't have the right gears of the Brisa. The real Rabbi Ben Yaakov was more maknir, and he says either old or even old. Once every 30 days, you have to air it out. Weiter. Weiter. Make sure that another person doesn't read it with you. Read on your own the Sefer. Another person reading a different kind of text is going to tear it apart. Why? Each one will pull to his direction unwillingly. We have a question on that. Lo yikra parsha v'yishne. Listen to this. You borrowed the sefer. Don't read the same parsha twice. Only once, because reading twice will already make it, worn and torn. V'lo yikra parsha v'yitargim. Don't do shnai mikra v'chatargum unless the person knows that you do, because that again it's more wear and tear. V'lo yiftach b'yoyser migibel dapin. Don't open more than 3 pages together. Again, pages are the areas of the sefer. 3 dapim like when you do Hagba. Don't open that too much because it's gonna again like stretch it too much and it's gonna just tear. If it's one krach, one page, one thing, don't have 3 people reading together. 3. Hashnaim koirin. Sounds like 2 people are allowed to read together. 3 is a whole jungle, balagan. Each one will pull it apart the other way. But 2 people are allowed to read together. Well, our Mishnah said 2 people are not allowed to read together. It's not difficult. Which means if both people read one inyan, one topic, one issue, one topic in the parsha, one place, then nobody's going to tear it. They read it together. If they read it together, then bevakasha, then binyan echad. Kan b'shnei inyanim. However, if it's in 2 different matters, each one pulls in his direction. If I read Parshas Bereshis and he reads Parshas Noach, each one is interested to, look a little bit to the side, and 2 different inyanim, that's not good. Yeah, Kamishne inyanim, that is nicht gute Zach, and they can tear it apart. Motza ksus, yeah, a person found a ksus. What is a ksus? He found a garment. Not only a talis, he found a garment, Menaro echad l'shloshim yom. You're allowed to, not allowed to, you're supposed to. You're supposed to shake it, hit it, shake it once every 30 days to make sure that it's really, kept fresh. Lememra, that is to say, denio me'alilo. So you're really telling me that shaking up a beged, a garment, is good for the beged. Is that so? Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, mi sheyesh lo gardi umen betoich beisoi, a person who has a gardi umen in his house. Yochanan is talking a shtickle cynically. A person who has a weaver in his house, if you have your own at-home weaver that can weave and sew new clothes for you every day, in other words, if you want to waste and ruin your clothes, then you can, then you can shake your ksus every day, which means if you shake your ksus, your garments every day, what's going to happen? Then it's going to get ruined. It's going to get destroyed. Do you have your own at-home what's his name? You have your own at-home thing? You don't. So don't. It destroys the beged when you shake it all the time. So why is the Mishnah saying I should shake it all the time? Amri, there are 4 answers as far as I remember. B'chol yoim kashilo. Rabbi Yochanan says don't do it every day. If you shake it every day, that's not good. But if you do it once every 30 days, that's good. Once a day is bad. It's too much. Once every 30 days is good, like many other things. Yeah, they say to wash your hair with shampoo. I've heard once every day is not good. Every 2-3 days is good. I don't know. Ibai Seima. What? Okay, takes a natural ayir. Okay. Ibai Seima, another potential answer. Kasha, it's not difficult. Ha bechad v'ho betray. One person shaking is okay. It's only one guy. If two people shake it, each one on the other side, like a talis, then it's bad because shaking with two people that's too vigorous and they pull apart, that's not good. Ibai Seima, a third answer. Kasha, ho beyodov ho bechutra, which means if you hit it with your hand, you pet it with your hand, that's good. But if you take a stick, these like sticks with those like like flower-looking stick that you hit the beged, that's if it's violent, that's not good for the beged. Ibai Sema, fourth answer. Yeah, fourth answer. Loi kasha, hobede amra, hobede kitna. Yeah, it's not difficult. One of them is with an amra, one of them is the wool. Wool versus the kitna. What's kitna? Wool versus linen. It's very confusing. It's not cotton, it's linen. Wool is not good for the wool. For the wool to be shaken is not good, says Rashi, because it's nimtachar. It gets stretched and torn. The linen apparently is stronger. It's true. Linen is a stronger fiber. Linen is a stronger fiber. It's good to sew with it. I know this from Messiah. So therefore, with the linen clothes are not going to be affected. Rabbi Yochanan. Yes, sharpness is still today. It still happens today with shatnez that they sew. They use they take the woolen clothes and they sew them over here with flax. Right. Omar Rabbi Yochanan. We're about to finish Dom with Yuhu. Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Now Rabbi Yochanan is now telling us other advice for good life. Since Rabbi Yochanan is the one who said not to shake your beged once a day with all the different conditions, Rabbi Yochanan is going to tell us more information about how to live good life. Kasa de charoshin v'lo kasa de poishrin. It's better to drink from the cup of the witchcraft of the witches rather than the cup of the poishrin of water that are lukewarm. Water that was today we know it's scientifically true, and that is, let's say you warm up the water up to a certain temperature, which doesn't kill the germs, but only halfway through. That's the worst way to drink the water. It's not room temperature and it's not boiled. It's in the middle of the way. That's the worst situation, the worst state of heat for the water to be drunk. The loyamor, and that is only true. That is only true if the vessel is made out of what? Of meteches, which is metal. That's iron. Interesting. If this water is in a kli made out of clay, that helps, and then the germs don't work, and then it's okay to drink the water which is halfway through. And even beklei matchas, we don't say that ela deloit savitz, which means it was never, it never got the boiling point. It was not yet boiled, which means, as I told you before, if it wasn't yet boiled, it only got to halfway through, which only I think the strong germs they stay and the weak germs they die. That's what they say. That's the worst. Which means if it got to the boiling point and now it cooled down, then it's okay. Once it's boiled, it's fine. Yeah, even though now it cooled down to 50% less, then it's fine. And this is only true. It's only dangerous and bad to drink that water if you don't throw in it all kinds of condiments like tea and all kinds of herbs. Then it's not good if it's just the water by itself. If in this water you have tzivia, you have the all types of small sticks like cinnamon, or I don't know, the types of herbs that you put in the water, then it's okay, even though it's only 50% hot, because maybe those herbs that kill the germs. That could be like mint, extra something like that. Rabbi Yochanan, 2 more minutes and we finish the page. Make my day, rabbis. Rabbi Yochanan, 2 dots. Let's say your father left you a lot of money and you want to waste all of it. In other words, Pashas Rabbi Yochanan says, he says, what should you do if you want to waste the money? He's really telling you what not to do. Believe it or not, some Rishonim say, let's say your father left you money from ribis and you feel guilty using the money. So you want to quickly get rid of the money. So what do? You should wear flax clothes. These are all kinds of ways to waste your money by buying items that can get ruined quickly. Use the glassware because it breaks quickly. And rent and hire workers and don't supervise them. These are three ways to waste your money. Number one, we're not talking about strong flax. We're talking about Roman cotton. Roman cotton, says Rashi, is something which is expensive and gets ruined very quickly. Yeah, some very fine clothes, like some fine, very refined, fine kind of fabric. It gets ruined very quickly, very expensive. So you're wasting your money and you're investing in the wrong thing. You want to waste money? Okay, do that. What kind of glass is not good to use because it breaks quickly, because it's very fragile? White, I don't know what that means nowadays, white or maybe very clear glass. What kind of workers should you hire and don't sit with them and they'll make sure to destroy your money? Tirgema, they explain that we're talking about people who drive the toiri, the bulls, and that causes a lot of damage. Why? Says Rashi, because back then they would use the bulls and they would be choresh, they would plow the field or the kerem with the bulls, and you still have the existing trees were there while you plow part of the field. They would run over everything and destroy everything. In other words, when you plow and you have trees on both sides, you have to make sure that the existing trees should be maintained carefully. Drive in the proper lane. They would drive the wrong lane. As they plow, they would drive very haphazardly, like careening through, and they would destroy like drivers in a certain country that I know. Yeah. And they would destroy all the trees and destroy the vines. So if you don't look after them, they're going to destroy the entire field. And then they'll say it's not my fault because whatever, they didn't see the policeman. Thank you very much. Atzlocha Rabbi. We did an entire page. Mazel tov to all of us. Atzlocha Rabbi b'chol inyonim. Thank you. Have a great day. Questions are welcome.